interrogate you, that's why.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Whodunit? Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on adding to your perfect batting average of great movies. So you put more lights on? That's actually, that weirdly made it better. Whenever I have someone as accomplished as you, I actually like to go back to the beginning and ask, what was the first thing you ever really remember writing or directing?
It was, and thank you for doing this, and guys, thank you so much for being here. It's very, very cool. Thank you, guys. The very first day I started making movies when I was a kid. I started making Super 8 movies. I was one of those kids. My dad brought home the first video camera on our block, and he never saw it again. I just took it, the first stuff I made, I remember with my cousin Nathan, who did the music for Knives Out. He's my composer. We've been making movies together since we were little kids.
Wow.
We made a Ghostbusters parody called Bee Busters that was...
Bee Busters?
It was fantastic. It was not very
like
good.
The insects? The
yeah, we had a playhouse in the backyard, and there was a beehive in it, and we thought this would be great production value for a movie. So because
this is using what you have.
This is what we've learned to do.
Yeah, it prepared you for indie filmmaking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, I'm just curious. Has anyone seen this movie for the first time tonight?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's really cool,
like
actually. I do want to start at the beginning with Knives Out because I'm curious what compelled you to want to tell. It's a modern whodunit. It both pays homage to, but also subverts the murder mystery genre. Also with a side of class warfare. Did you have all those ideas go into the mix, or did it just start with something more simple, like I want to do a whodunit?
Well, no, yeah, it just started with me loving Agatha Christie books, and I grew up since I was a kid reading Agatha Christie, and it's something into adulthood. I always come back to her books. They're like comfort food for me, and I think she's an incredible writer. It seems weird to say it about a writer who's one of the best-selling writers on the planet, but I think she's weirdly underrated, specifically in the way she writes characters. I love the way she writes characters, and so I love a good whodunit. I'm a whodunit junkie, and it just started with me wanting to do one, wanting to put everything I love about whodunit into a movie. And about 10 years ago, I had the idea. Because the one thing about whodunits is, they can sometimes hit that middle section. It's the thing Hitchcock didn't like about whodunits, which is it's a big build-up to one surprise at the end. So sometimes you hit a point in a whodunit where they're just clue gathering, and you're like, okay, let's get to the end where you tell me the thing I never could have guessed. And so the idea with this was, can we put a more robust engine into the car? Can we put a Hitchcock thriller in the middle of a whodunit? But then still turn it back into a whodunit at the end, so that you get that great denouement scene with the detective explaining everything to you, which is one of my favorite types of scenes in fiction.
It's interesting because it kind of stops being a whodunit halfway through. You tell us.
Yeah, well, that was really purposeful. Yeah. That was to take kind of the thing to tell the people watching. Let's not worry about whodunit.
Yeah.
Because here's a character that you hopefully like, and they're in a really horrible situation, and let's all lean forward and see how they can get out of this. And then, like I said, at the end, to kind of have our cake and eat it too, to reveal there was a whodunit kind of hiding underneath that thriller element the whole time, and the thriller itself was almost misdirection. That seemed fun.
And in some ways, it's almost a why done it.
Yeah.
Like we're really just trying to figure out why this happened.
Right. Well, there's also, sorry, this is like nerdy genre stuff, but to me this is really exciting.
This is the audience for.
Okay, all right, we're in this together. To me, there was also something really fun about the way that it's set up, the fact that you're rooting for Marta, or hopefully you are, and the fact that it's like Columbo, except you are genuinely on the side of the killer and emotionally want them to get away with it.
Yeah.
And that, to me, does something really interesting, because that makes, even if the detective is a sympathetic character, it makes the rules of a detective, of a whodunit, the antagonist of the movie. The thing that you're dreading is the thing we all know, which is the detective gets their killer at the end of the film. And that's like the line Blanc says to her about, this machine arrives at the truth, And that seemed really interesting to me. So.
And your detective is likable too. I mean, he listens to Sondheim.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
gotta love a guy like that.
He sings.
He does. Sondheim is like the new Save the Cat.
Oh,
And so
yeah,
we have all these people singing Sondheim this year. It makes us instantly like them.
You can't go wrong. Yeah, a little Sondheim in there. Yeah.
It is my favorite Sondheim song, though.
Well, and there is a Sondheim murder mystery connection. I mean,
That's right.
So that's the reason that's in there. Is I mean, Sondheim was. Sorry, we're going down now. Musical theater.
Again, this is the crowd.
This is yeah. I have a feeling we're all in this. Yeah, we're all right. So Sondheim, he was a huge mystery nut. The one straight non-musical play he wrote was a murder mystery. Actually, I don't think it ran very long, but and he also co-wrote with The Last of Sheila, which is a fantastic whodunit from the 70s.
Yes.
That's so good, and is playing. Is it this Sunday or next at the Egyptian?
I think it's this Sunday.
And who's going to be Richard Benjamin and
I think Diane Cannon.
is going to be there.
I know.
If anyone hasn't seen The Last of Sheila, or if you have, get there on Sunday to the Egyptian.
It's so good. It's
fantastic
so fun.
70s whodunit. But yeah, co-written by Sondheim. One of my favorite films, Sleuth, is with the 1970s version of Sleuth is based on the play. And the working title, like the main character in that play, was kind of modeled after Sondheim. He was actually kind of like a fiendish puzzle guy. So anyway,
that's so crazy. I have so many movies to go watch when I go home now. I was reading an interview where you said for you to really, truly jump into a movie and be invested, it has to have a personal connection for you. I'm wondering if the sort of the class struggle was your personal connection.
I mean, kind of, but it was also, I mean, for me, it's kind of, there are two parts. There's sort of the, like the movie part, like the whodunit. Boy, it'd be fun to make a whodunit. But then it's less about kind of, I don't know, wanting to like put a message in it or something. It's more about something interesting that, to me, it was not even like specifically the political situation in the film. It was the idea of how do people handle it when something that they assume is theirs is suddenly threatened, when something you feel ownership of on this deep level that you identify with, suddenly, even with all your best intentions about who you are as a person, when that's threatened, what does that do? And so exploring that through all the different parts of the family, that was kind of my way into it, sort of, I guess.
Can I ask you some geeky process questions?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah.
Are you the sort of person who outlines? I would think with something like this, you either have note cards or outlines.
Yeah, I outline a lot. I spend the first 80% of the writing process outlining, and I work in these little moleskin notebooks, and I'll draw it visually. I'll draw like an arc. If anyone's on that website Twitter, I posted actually a picture of my arc for this movie that I drew. And it's almost indecipherable as you can't read my handwriting. It looks like the notebooks from the opening of Seven a little bit. It's like really terrifying. But I need to be able to draw a simple line and do my little structure with it and be able to see the structure of the whole film before I start. Yeah.
How many drafts do you estimate you went through of the script?
With this one, because I had to write it relatively quickly, so I had the idea 10 years ago, but when I sat down to write, it was 7 or 8 months of writing, which for me is really fast. I'm a slow writer. Yeah, that's fast for me. So I probably did, I mean, not like page 1 drafts, but probably like, I don't know, 25 or 30 drafts.
Wow.
I think, yeah.
But you never made any like significant changes to the ending? You had that mapped out?
No, yeah, that was mapped from the start, yeah.
Did you have this amazing ensemble. I mean, every role is so perfectly cast. Did you write with any of them in mind?
No, but I've learned not to do that because you'll just get your heart broken. Because even if they're friends of yours, inevitably the fates will make it so that they're not available or something. So no, I try and write with as clean a slate as possible. The one exception was my buddy Noah Segan, who plays Trooper Wagner. Who's like Noah in real life he's been in every movie I've made. We met each other on my first movie, Brick, and he's one of my very best friends. And I see him every day, so it would be awkward if I didn't. So I wrote that part for him, and he's also a little bit like that. He's he's got that kind of like just wonderful kind of golden retriever energy.
When did you have the brilliant idea to cast Daniel Craig as the comedy guy and Lakeith Stanfield as the straight man?
Well, Lakeith's part, that was because when I wrote that part, I figured we would cast, somebody like Steve Buscemi or somebody in that, but like I imagined just it would be. And so when the Keith was brought up, he's one of my favorite young actors working today. And Sorry to Bother You was one of my favorite movies of that year. He's extraordinary in that, and of course Atlanta. But yeah, I had always thought of him as like, I was like, God, would he want to play like kind of like a straight man in this? Would he want to do this kind of part? And he was really, really into it. And so, and what he's doing, it's a deceptively. It's actually a really challenging thing, the way that he's grounding the film and the way that he's creating a character through what is essentially this process. I think it's a really good performance. And then Daniel, I mean, I think he's so good at playing Bond. It's easy to just think of him as. I expected he'd be like a grouchy motherfucker. He's the opposite of that. He's so kind and funny and lovely, and you realize, oh, he's a great actor. And
he's kind of a goofball in real life.
He kind of is, yeah. He is. That's kind of the secret's out. Yeah.
Had you seen him in Logan Lucky? So
in Logan Lucky, I'd seen him on the stage. I'd seen him do and he's a classically trained actor. Like he's got that toolbox. He's got that range. I'm so excited to see the kind of stuff that he does going forward.
Yeah. Did you see him in Betrayal and Othello?
No, I saw him in what was the one he did with Hugh Jackman?
Steady Rain.
Steady Rain.
Right, but again, a very serious role.
Yeah, it was very serious. But he was playing an American, and so he could do the accent. And just from meeting him, I knew that he was a fun guy.
Was the accent in the film his idea or your idea?
I wrote it in the script as a Southern accent, figuring it would be, because they're all these New England like wasps. The idea that he's from the deep South, it would make them underrate him a little bit. The way that Poirot being like this fussy little Belgian, or give him some kind of character. He's Belgian.
Okay.
Everyone always says, "Oh, this Frenchman, I am Belgian." Or Columbo. I mean, the detective always has something that makes the people in the story kind of look down their noses at him a little bit. I think it's important.
So you said Southern in the script, but when he unleashed the strange Cajun accent, what did you think?
Well, we worked towards it. We actually we had a lot of discussions because I wanted to be gentle and pleasant to the ear, and I kept telling our producers it was going to be subtle. And sorry, producers. Sorry. But yeah, I did want it to be pleasant to the ear, and so we listened to a lot of different references. He, at some point, struck upon the idea of Shelby Foote, who's the historian, who's in a lot of the Ken Burns Civil War documentary, and has that kind of. I believe it's a Mississippi accent. It's a very sonorous sort of like delivery, and it's Shelby Foote by way of Foghorn Leghorn.
This script, more than any other one I can really think of this year, it really balances all these tones. It's very funny, it's very tense, and then I think I was just kind of surprised what a good thriller it was. I wasn't expecting to find all those in one movie. How did you sort of strike that balance, or are you someone who just writes all the way through and kind of finds it with the actors?
No, I mean I was very much thinking of tone from the start. I think especially because with this type of movie, a lot of people's immediate reference for a whodunit is Clue, which I love the movie Clue or Murder by Death. I love those films, but I would classify those as parodies. Like they definitely tip over into full comedy. And I knew with this, I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be funny. First and foremost, though, I wanted it to be a straightforward, good whodunit that was kind of about something, as opposed to a movie that was kind of, poking fun at whodunits. So I think in the script I erred on the side of it being a little more serious, and then once we got these amazing actors, I mean, it takes a really, really good actor to give the massive just kind of performances that they're giving on screen and not have it tip over into feeling like a joke, to have it still feel like a character enough to where you're still connected to the story. And I mean, it's just a testament to the talent of the cast that they were able to go a lot bigger than I thought and keep it grounded enough.
I I mean, I'm curious because you have such a wide array of actors, and I don't know if, like, for example, Michael Shannon and Chris Evans have a similar acting style.
Yeah.
But is there a way as a director to sort of, oversee all these different styles and make everyone kind of happy?
I mean, you have to try. It's like teaching a preschool class. Is it? That sounded wrong. Yeah, that sounded wrong. But no, in that you have to. In that everybody does have their own needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's your job. You are kind of there. It is kind of your job. First of all, to make sure that everybody feels like they're getting what they need and everyone's getting. But also at the end of the day, it's a cast full of actors, all of whom can and have carried other movies,
Mm-hmm.
and they were really coming together here to be an ensemble, and everybody showed up ready to do that, and so it was a lovely environment on set, and everyone was enjoying each other, and everyone was just it felt like Don Johnson said, like, it felt like they were doing like summer stock theater or something. There was just a sort of a community on set that felt really nice. I think you can tell how much fun they're having on the screen. I think that comes through.
With something as tightly plotted as this, is there any room for improvisation?
A little bit, yeah, especially when they're all yelling at each other. And,
I wondered about that.
well, Michael Shannon ended up being the ace, the secret ace up our sleeve in terms of improv comedy lines.
Really?
You would never think because he's so funny, and he can come across as so just like serious and weird, and he's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm not eating one iota of shit was a Michael Shannon special. Also, when he starts shoving the cookies into Chris's mouth, that was him, and then his line, maybe Harlan left you a cold glass of milk in his will, asshole, was his line. Michael Shannon's hilarious.
I've been telling people that for years, and no one believes me.
Really funny.
He's really funny, he's really nice.
He's a sweetheart,
Yeah.
man. He is so sweet, yeah.
I think he said Jaden improvised the Anchor Baby line.
He did. Jaden, I think, went down a dark place and looked up all of these horrible things in the air that an all-right troll would say. And then he had that up his sleeve. And Michael came up to me and goes, I think you should get a close-up of Jaden. I think he's got something. I'm happy we did.
That was a good Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
So what ended up being the most challenging part of the process, either as, when you were writing the script or when you were on the set as a director? I don't know if you switch completely into director mode on set, if you still have to have a little bit of the writer there.
Oh, I mean, you're writing all the way up through the end of editing. I mean, the writing process keeps going, and so, but I mean, actually doing the writing is always, I think, the toughest part, because that's the part that you're, alone for and insecure and not sure if it's going to work, and especially with something like this that's so complex, that was wrangling the thing and actually feeling like you could get it to where it worked on the page was definitely the toughest part. Once the actors showed up, then it was easy breezing.
Do you ever struggle with writer's block?
Oh yeah, constantly.
What do you do?
I don't know. Do you have any suggestions?
Absolutely not. I've done it for 8 years.
I think it's I think the trick is, if you find yourself kind of stuck, I always find it's really, I don't know, what I try and do is I try and ingest something, as opposed to trying to like sit down and like force it out. Sit back and ingest something that has nothing to do with what you're writing, whether it's like going to a play or picking up a random book that on mathematics or something, like just trying to do something that's going to hit you from an angle or work a muscle that you haven't been working in trying to write this specific thing. That can sometimes, shake things loose.
I thought you meant literally ingest something, like eat. I was like, that's a great idea.
Well, depending on your taste, yes, you could ingest different things.